Welcome to Kevin Dale Photography, where I take you on my journey through photography. On today's episode, we're going to be doing an in-depth review of the Godox iT32. Welcome to today's episode. If you're not familiar with Kevin Dale Photography, we do gear reviews, tips, techniques, and tutorials, and sometimes we dive into film. If any of that sounds appealing to you, click the subscribe button below. For all of you who are back to Kevin Dale Photography, welcome back. And for all you where this is your first time here, at the beginning of every episode, I ask for donations to BIG, which is an organization that helps intellectually disabled adults adapt to jobs in the real world. But to the subject of today's episode, Godox has been knocking it out of the park lately with their flashes. I've recently reviewed the V100, V480, and IT30 Pro, and it's clear they're going all in on touchscreen interfaces. I don't think it's a stretch to say these newer products have been genuinely innovative, but I've also been honest where they fall short. The V100 is heavy, the IT30 Pro rides too low and requires a pedestal just to achieve limited articulation. The V480 comes closest to perfection, but if you want to use it off camera, you still need to purchase a separate trigger that can cost close to $100. None of these issues are deal breakers, but I think we can all agree that if Godox released a flash that addresses all of these criticisms, no one would complain. And that brings us to the IT32. It's smaller than the V100, it rides higher than the IT30 Pro and fully articulates. It also includes this compact X5 trigger, which gives you the flexibility to magnetically attach the top to the bottom. You can use it as a traditional speed light on top of your camera, or you can detach this and use the included magnetic adapter to use this off camera and attach it to a lighting stand. Even better, if you shoot on multiple systems, you can keep the flash head and simply swap out the X5 triggers for a different camera mount. In my case, I shoot Canon, Fuji, and Lumix, so I can keep a compatible X5 in each bag and move the flash head between systems as needed. The concept is promising, but how does it actually perform in the real world? That's exactly what we're going to find out in today's episode. If this product lives up to its potential, it could signal the beginning of a new approach to on and off camera flash hybrid designs. But as with everything on this channel, it has to prove itself in real world use. So let's begin today's episode by first going over the specs. The Godox iT32 and X5 is an interchangeable TTL mini flash system for Canon, Fuji, Nikon, Lumix, and Sony systems. Its power range is 1/1 through 1/128. Its guide number is 18. Its recycle time at full power is approximately 1.5 seconds. Its flash duration can range from 1/1000th to 1/30,000th of a second. It has a built-in touchscreen interface for system navigation. It has a built-in adjustable modeling lamp. It's capable of high-speed sync. It has 32 channels and 4 groups. It has a built-in USB-C port for charging and firmware updates. It has a built-in 2.5mm control port. It comes with mounting and modifying magnetic accessories. Its dimensions are 4 by 2.2 by 1.5 inches or 101 by 56 by 39 millimeters. It comes in at a weight of 6 ounces or 169 grams. And while the IT32 comes in at a street price of $79 US, the X5 comes in respectively at a street price of just under $20 US. So those specs were pretty impressive, but we need to test this guy out in the real world. So let's start with our first real world test. All right, so I've got this IT32, and as you can see right here, I have my Canon transmitter attached to it. Now, one of the cool things about this is you can just take the transmitter off magnetically, and now I've got my O series, which is for Olympus or Lumix, and I'm just going to line up the terminals, and now this is a Lumix flash. So pretty cool. I can just take the transmitter off and put a different series or compatibility, so in this case Canon, and then I didn't bring my Fuji with me, but I also have a Fuji transmitter, so I can use this flash head, this IT32 flash head, on any of those three systems. And then if I want to use it off camera, I can actually leave this attached to the camera, and then they give you a magnetic stand here, and you can use it off camera. So we're going to use this guy in a session today. We'll see where the settings need to be. Being that this is an IT32 and it kind of reminds me of just the IT30 Pro, I'm probably going to have really long recycle times. I'm going to probably have to shoot wide open, but that is why we do the tests. We're going to see how this guy works in a studio environment. So let's get started. So for my first test, I'm actually going to do the half CTO, full CTO gels that are magnetic and included when you purchase the IT32. I'm going to do a test where I show you no gel, the half CTO, and the full CTO. And for those of you who don't know what it is, a CTO is a color temperature orange gel. It allows you to change your color temperature to match your ambient environment. I use these often at golden hour to get my flash's color temperature to match the sun when it's going down. After testing it out, the model and I both agreed that we liked the look of the half CTO. Next, we decided to play around a little. I mixed the IT32 with a Godox ML150 continuous light and this really cool light bender. And we did a really cool technique called shutter drag, where I shoot between a quarter and about a 15th of a second. It's intentionally blurry. I try to freeze a little bit of the model while creating that burn-in from the continuous light. It creates some blur. It's a pretty cool effect. I definitely added some grain here for aesthetics, but I was really impressed with the way the IT32 played with other lights. Okay, so I had a lot of fun with the IT32 for artistic endeavors using it off camera, but I'm sure a lot of you are wondering how the speedlight performs at events. So I had an event at Topgolf and I used the IT32 exclusively on camera, and I went around and I shot a bunch of the people attending. And as you can see right here, it did a fantastic job, but that is with the caveat that I was shooting at around a 60th of a second, around f4 at ISO 800. So if you want to stop down and use low ISOs, this probably isn't your speed light. So with that in mind, let's go back to my YouTube studio and let's talk about what I liked and didn't like about the Godox IT32. Okay, so now that I have some time under my belt with this IT32, I'm going to tell you my thoughts on it. I've used it on a variety of scenarios, like in the studio. I used it at an event, and I've just done a lot of reviews of speed lights, especially Godox speed lights, so I have a pretty good idea about how to feel about the IT32. We'll talk about the pros and the cons, and like we typically do, we'll start with the cons. I feel like what is this product's strength could also prove to be its limitation. And what I mean by that is that it's a small unit. which if you just need a small flash with articulation, then it's perfect, and we'll go over why in the pros. But the fact that this is being held on by a magnet means that there's always likely going to be a power limitation, because with power comes weight, and bigger, more professional flashes are usually more top-heavy. So top-heavy that I already worry about the point where the flash meets the hot shoe. Sometimes the amount of pressure it receives makes me nervous. In the case of the IT32, my initial thought is that this is a great system. I hope they release more compatible flash heads that are larger in the future, but I'm not sure that will be practical. It's being held on by a magnet, and while that magnet seems to do its job well, I can't help but think that that wouldn't be the case if they came out with a V100 size head for this system. And that's a shame, because you could purchase different flash heads for different size projects that require different output. This IT32 is probably going to be my vacation flash moving forward, but you'll probably never see me using this guy in a professional setup outside of maybe having a kicker light. Those pro duties will still be handled by my V100 and V480 speedlights. I wish it were just a little bit more powerful, but it does work well in a variety of situations. Nonetheless, for anything more than just being in the shade, you will still need a pretty robust flash like a V480 or larger. You saw me shoot at that event at Topgolf, and you saw me use TTL with the built-in bounce card, and I was between 1/30th and 1/60th of a second at ISO 800 and was around f3 to f4. To me, that was the sweet spot of shooting subjects that weren't moving. But even then, I had to elect to blow out a little bit of the sunlight outside, which wasn't really important, but a good demonstration that this flash isn't going to be powerful enough to compress your subject and the sunlight perfectly together. In terms of power, you really need to think of this as an improved IT30 Pro. The original IT30 Pro has a guide number of 15, where this IT32 has a slightly better guide number of 18. But when you compare it to the V480, which has a guide number of 50, and the V100, which I can't find any information on the guide number, but I know it has to be higher than the V480, this IT32 will not get you very close in terms of power. To me, this is an ideal flash for vacations and maybe a good backup at events when you don't have a lot of space in your bag. I'd also say that even if you shoot a smaller event like that Topgolf event that I did, you could get by with this flash, assuming you are seasoned enough to know what your settings need to be. Those are really the only things I could find with this flash that I feel like could be better. Now, let's talk about the pros. The biggest pros of this unit is the interchangeability. For people such as myself who shoot on multiple systems, rather than purchasing 3 different speedlights, I can just buy this one flash head and a small X5 unit for each system. Maybe I'll decide to bring a Fuji X-H2 and a Lumix S1R2 with me on the same vacation. I just need to bring a single flash head and one respective X5 for each system, and I'm good to go. Then there's the limitation of on-camera flash, which this overcomes. I can just detach this head unit, leave the X5 on my camera, and I'm good to go. I can easily just move the flash around with my hands to get more flattering light, or I can put it on the included magnetic stand. This unit also overcomes a major obstacle that I encountered when I reviewed the IT30 Pro. The IT30 Pro has an extremely low profile, which casts a shadow with many lenses, and you can't bounce the flash without the assistance of the pedestal accessory. And even that only has the ability to move forward and backward. It does not have a swivel from side to side, but the IT32 does swivel, and it operates like a traditional speedlight. Another pro is that, like all of its newer touchscreen siblings, it's easy to operate. It's a familiar touchscreen interface, kind of like your phone. The system feels intuitive and easy to navigate. No, it doesn't have every advanced feature you'd find in a more professional speedlight like the Godox V100, but it has more than enough for its intended purpose, and honestly, that's more than I expected. One thing I really appreciate is how it charges. It uses a standard USB-C connection, so you can plug it into your laptop, a wall adapter, or even your car. Even better, if you leave the X5 trigger magnetically connected to the IT32 flash head, both units charge at the same time. You can also monitor the charging status of each piece right on the built-in display. That's a small detail, but it makes the system feel well thought out. I like that they placed the modeling lamp on the front of the unit. I'm not a fan of modeling lamps that sit on the flash head itself because if this speed light is mounted on your camera and you're bouncing the flash off the wall or the ceiling, the modeling lamp usually isn't powerful enough to bounce off that same surface and properly illuminate your subject. By keeping the modeling lamp pointed straight ahead, it stays focused on the subject, it throws plenty of usable light, and helps your camera's autofocusing system stay locked in. That's a much more practical design choice for real-world situations. Another pro is that because this IT32 is a speedlight, it's also a trigger, so you can actually use this as your command center for multiple flashes if you have a more complex setup. I also like that Godox includes both a half CTO and a full CTO magnetic gel. If you're shooting at golden hour and want your flash to match the warmth of the ambient light, just snap one onto the front and you're good to go. And if you're wondering whether Godox offers blue gels for cloudy days or green gels for tricky indoor lighting, they do. They also make several other creative color options. They're magnetic, easy to swap, and fairly affordable. Now let's talk about another major advantage: value. With the flash head priced at $79 and the X5 trigger at $20, you're getting a versatile system for under $100. Could you find more powerful flashes in that price range? Absolutely, even within the Godox lineup. But that's not the point of this unit. The strength here is portability and flexibility. I'm not aware of another system that offers this exact combination of modular design and magnetic integration at this price point. The included magnetic stand and carrying pouch are just the icing on the cake. And let's not forget that while this video is about a IT32, it's really a review of two products. The X5 is perfectly fine for what it is, and there's not really any cons of it because it's only two buttons and a really strong magnet, and well, both of those perform exactly as expected. So what are my final thoughts on the IT32? Well, I own its little brother, the IT30 Pro, which up until this review was my emergency backup flash/trigger. So basically what I'm saying here is that I'm no longer going to use the IT30 Pro in my setups at all, and this is going to be my new backup flash in all of my bags. And if you're interested in picking up this IT32 or any of these X5 triggers, I'll leave a link in the description below. That does it for today's episode. What did you think of my review of this IT32 system? Tell me about it in the comments below. Did you pick one up? Tell me about that in the comments below. Did you go in another direction? Also, tell me about that in the comments below. And if you're a fan of this channel, I humbly ask you to click the subscribe button below. And until next time, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.